The Honeymooners, 1955 to 1956, is one of the most cherished sitcoms in television history, known for its hilarious moments, timeless catchphrases, and unforgettable performances by its small but iconic cast. While the series continues to bring joy to generations of fans, the real lives of the actors behind the scenes were often filled with hardship, personal struggles, and tragic endings. In this video, we take a heartfelt look at the stars of the Honeymooners who have sadly passed away. From battles with illness and addiction to sudden losses that shock the entertainment world, their untold stories remind us that fame doesn't shield anyone from life's pain. Jackie Gleason was born on February 26, 1916, and portrayed Ralph Cramden in The Honeymooners in 1955 at the age of 39. Ralph was loud, impulsive, and perpetually dreaming of wealth, a bus driver with delusions of grandeur who embodied working-class frustration with comic flair. But Gleason's own life was no sitcom. He was a man of excess. Booze, women, and money bled from his life in equal measure. He famously refused to rehearse, often claiming genius didn't need preparation, which infuriated co-stars. His temper was volatile, and insiders whispered of him slapping assistants and screaming at producers. Behind his bravado was emotional wreckage, a father who abandoned the family, a first marriage that ended in a bitter split, and long-standing estrangement from one of his daughters. He threw lavish parties in Miami where alcohol and women flowed freely, rumored to include underage escorts and Hollywood bigwigs escaping scandal. Gleason's weight ballooned wildly, forcing costume redesigns mid-production, and his health collapsed under decades of drinking. He died of colon and liver cancer on June 24, 1987, at age 71. Jack Lecaly was born on November 17, 1912, and became the announcer for the Honeymooners in 1955 at age 43, infusing broadcasts with his signature energy and comedic tone. But his sunny public voice masked an erratic professional life. Once a respected war correspondent, Lecaly's career took several odd turns. He abruptly left the Today Show in the early 50s after clashing with producers. Rumors suggested he punched a crew member during a heated off-air argument. Colleagues described him as volatile, prone to mood swings, and obsessed with maintaining his on-air persona. His home life was also unstable. He had multiple affairs while married and a strained relationship with his son, who later criticized him in a memoir as emotionally absent. Lecaly dabbled in business ventures that failed, including a short-lived investment in a nightclub that folded amid tax issues. Though not embroiled in public scandal, industry insiders saw him as difficult and unpredictable. He died of colon cancer on July 22, 1987, at age 74, remembered more for his voice than his volatile backstage life. Joyce Randolph was born on October 21, 1924, and played Trixie Norton in The Honeymooners at age 31. Trixie was sweet, quiet, and often overlooked, traits that eerily mirrored Randolph's own career trajectory. Despite being part of one of television's most iconic casts, Randolph was underpaid, underused, and deeply unhappy. She was often cut from scripts without explanation, and once reportedly burst into tears on set after Gleason refused to speak to her directly. She later confessed to feeling invisible and being typecast into bland roles. Though she kept her personal life clean publicly, some sources claimed her marriage to wealthy marketing executive Richard Lincoln Charles was tumultuous, marked by long separations and alleged affairs on both sides. Randolph quietly battled depression in the 1960s and briefly considered leaving show business entirely. Though she lived to 99, she rarely gave interviews in her later years, and some who knew her said she remained bitter about how the industry dismissed her. She died on January 13, 2024, from natural causes. Frank Marth, born July 29, 1922, played the gangster Barney Dibble in The Honeymooners in 1955 at age 33. Though his roles were often thuggish or cold, Marth was intellectually inclined, fluent in French, and a passionate Shakespearean actor off camera. Yet his career was routinely sabotaged, first by a whisper campaign alleging he was too effeminate for the screen, then by his own refusal to play industry politics. Marth became known as the ghost actor, praised yet rarely remembered. Friends say he grew increasingly bitter, drinking heavily and railing against the mediocrity of network television. His long-term relationship with a male radio producer remained hidden due to the homophobic climate of the time. It ended in scandal when letters were leaked anonymously to a tabloid in the 60s. Though never publicly outed, Marth lived in fear of exposure for decades. By the 2000s, Alzheimer's had taken hold, robbing him of his memory and language. He died on January 12, 2014, at 91, having spent a life filled with silent performances and silenced truths. Audrey Meadows was born on February 8, 1922, and joined the Honeymooners in 1955 at age 33, playing Alice Cramden, the voice of reason to Ralph's chaos. Alice was tough, sharp, and resilient, traits Meadows shared. But she had a double life, publicly poised, privately ruthless. Behind the scenes, she negotiated a contract guaranteeing syndication residuals, something no other cast member secured, which led to tensions, particularly with Gleason, who reportedly called her too smart for her own good. Though never scandal-ridden, she was fiercely ambitious, manipulating her sweet image to climb socially, dating high-profile politicians and businessmen in secret, including a rumored affair with a married senator. Her marriage to Steve Meadows was more business arrangement than romance, and friends claimed they lived mostly apart. Meadows was a lifelong smoker, which she kept hidden due to her wholesome TV image. She suffered from health issues throughout the 90s and died of lung cancer on February 3, 1996, just shy of her 74th birthday. Art Carney was born on November 4, 1918, and played Ed Norton in The Honeymooners in 1955 when he was 37. Norton was goofy, loyal, and childlike, the perfect sidekick to Ralph's chaos. Carney, however, was no harmless clown. Behind the curtain was a man fractured by war trauma and lifelong demons. He suffered from a chronic limp due to a World War II injury, but hid deeper wounds. He was a severe alcoholic whose addiction destroyed his first marriage. During the 1960s, he disappeared from Hollywood, undergoing psychiatric treatment after a breakdown exacerbated by fame and substance abuse. He divorced, remarried the same woman, then divorced again, all while isolating himself from friends. Carney was intensely private, often refusing interviews and vanishing for weeks. Rumors swirled of strange behavior, paranoia, hallucinations, even short institutional stays. His performance in Harry and Tonto won him an Oscar, but he viewed acting as a curse that exposed his vulnerabilities. He died on November 9, 2003, at 85, a man who spent much of his life fighting shadows. Damon was born on March 31, 1908, and portrayed the city administrator in The Honeymooners in 1955 at age 47. His character, stiff and bureaucratic, was often the obstacle in Ralph Cramden's harebrained schemes. Small role, but delivered with stone-faced precision. Behind the voice that once dominated radio dramas like The Falcon, Damon's career was a quiet battlefield. After World War II, where he earned the Bronze Star, Damon returned to find his radio fame slipping in the face of TV's rise. He grew increasingly bitter over typecasting and was once caught on set ranting that he'd rather be back in the infantry than doing another damn administrator. His marriage suffered from years of financial instability and rumored affairs with co-stars on late-night broadcasts. A known chain smoker and caffeine addict, Damon often passed out in the studio lounge after sleepless nights writing his own scripts when offers dried up. Though never publicly disgraced, several producers labeled him difficult, prideful, and stuck in the past. He died of a massive heart attack on July 21, 1962, at age 54. George Petri, born November 16, 1912, was 43 when he portrayed Fred in The Honeymooners in 1955. As Fred, he was affable and grounded, a neighbor you trust with your house keys. But Petri's personal journey was far stormier than the genial roles he played. Though respected, he struggled bitterly with being typecast as a TV nice guy, which masked his resentment toward the system. Behind closed doors, Petri privately battled with depression and substance abuse, exacerbated by the fading opportunities of the 1970s. His marriage to stage actress Patricia Dunn was marred by allegations of infidelity, and tabloids once linked him to an underage starlet, though no charges were filed. Colleagues spoke of erratic mood swings, with one director calling him a ticking clock of polite rage. He spent his final years bouncing between guest roles and minor stage revivals, rarely appearing in public. Petri died of lymphoma on his 85th birthday, November 16, 1997, a man who had quietly unraveled behind television's smile. And Seymour was born on September 11, 1909, and took on the role of Mrs. Stevens in The Honeymooners in 1955 at the age of 46. Elegant and commanding, she brought a haughty refinement to the show's rougher edges. Yet beneath the dignified exterior lay a woman haunted by legacy. A seventh-generation actor, Seymour was burdened by impossible family expectations. Her mother allegedly scolded her for not landing lead Broadway roles. Seymour coped by retreating into solitude and alcohol. She was known to pour gin into her teacup during long TV shoots. Though she never married, she reportedly carried on a years-long secret affair with a powerful network executive, a relationship many believe helped secure her post-war television resurgence. She had few close friends and once said in an interview, "Trust is for people with less to lose." Behind closed doors, she was known for intense mood swings and icy feuds with co-stars, particularly those she viewed as intellectually inferior. She died from heart failure on December 8, 1988, at the age of 79. George Matthews, born October 10, 1911, played Harvey in The Honeymooners in 1956, at age 45. On screen, he was all brute and brawn, the quintessential neighborhood bully. Off-screen, however, Matthews was a tormented soul masking decades of repressed trauma. Raised in a violent Brooklyn tenement, he was said to carry a deep-seated rage that sometimes exploded during rehearsals. One infamous incident saw him throw a lamp across the dressing room during a dispute with Jackie Gleason. Though he found success on Broadway, Matthews was blacklisted briefly in the 1950s for his alleged communist affiliations, forcing him into minor TV gigs. His marriage to actress Mary Hainsworth was fraught with secrecy. She once filed a restraining order, but withdrew it under pressure from the studio. Despite his intellectual leanings, he collected rare books and dabbled in philosophy. He was ostracized for his abrasive personality and suspected mental instability. Matthews died on November 7, 1984, at 73 in Caesars Head, South Carolina, of heart disease, estranged from most of Hollywood. Louis Van Rutan was born on November 29, 1906, and played Landlord Johnson in The Honeymooners in 1956 at the age of 50. His character was stern and officious, perfectly channeling the classic bureaucratic landlord archetype. Behind the polished voice and multilingual wit was a man many colleagues called unsettlingly cerebral, obsessed with phonetics, cryptography, and obscure languages. Despite his public image as a cultured intellectual, insiders whispered about his volatile temper, particularly during late-night radio rehearsals where he'd allegedly scream at technicians and refuse direction. He isolated himself socially, avoided industry mixers, and was known to engage in intense, erratic bursts of work, possibly due to undiagnosed bipolar disorder, according to one assistant. His marriage was short-lived and ended amid accusations of emotional abuse and manipulation. Though never embroiled in any public scandal, Van Rutan was blackballed from certain voice acting circles due to his difficult behavior. He died on June 17, 1973, in Chatham, Massachusetts, at age 66 from unknown causes. Ned Glass was born on April 1, 1906, and took on the role of Teddy Oberman in The Honeymooners in 1955 at age 49. Teddy was neurotic, fast-talking, and always on edge, a mirror of Glass himself, according to those who worked with him. While beloved for his unique comedic timing, Glass lived a life riddled with paranoia. He was blacklisted during the McCarthy era, suspected of communist affiliations, and for several years was forced to work under aliases or do carpentry to survive. Friends noted his obsession with secrecy. He reportedly refused to sign autographs or discuss his past. His marriage to actress Kitty McHugh ended in tragedy when she committed suicide in 1954. The loss devastated him and drove him deeper into reclusion. He battled chronic depression and was briefly institutionalized in 1960 after a breakdown on set. While he eventually rebuilt his career, he was known to be prickly and difficult, often walking off sets if he disagreed with dialogue. He died on June 15, 1984, in Encino, California, at age 78 after a long illness. Joseph Ruskin was born on April 14, 1924, and portrayed a raccoon lodge member in The Honeymooners in 1955 at the age of 31. As part of the bumbling fraternal order, his character added to the absurd masculinity that surrounded Ralph Cramden. On screen, Ruskin was a commanding presence, but in private, he was a firebrand unionist with a temper that even the Screen Actors Guild feared. While celebrated for his long tenure on the SAG board, he often clashed with leadership, once storming out of a meeting after calling fellow members studio lapdogs. His activism cost him roles, and in the late 60s, he was unofficially blacklisted by several major producers. Married twice, both relationships ended in messy divorces. His second wife accused him of psychological cruelty and erratic behavior, citing his obsession with political causes over family. Though never arrested, he was allegedly investigated by the FBI for suspected communist ties in the 1950s, a file that remains partially sealed. Ruskin died on December 28, 2013, in Santa Monica, California, at age 89 from natural causes. Bill Zucker was born on December 18, 1915, and played Mr. Garrity in The Honeymooners in 1956 at age 41. Frequently cast as brash authority figures, Zucker wielded that same domineering energy off-screen. Though a veteran and union advocate, he developed a reputation for bullying younger actors, often threatening to blacklist them through his connections at SAG. His time on various film sets was marred by rumored under-the-table dealings, including claims he took union bribes to suppress actors' grievances. Behind the scenes, his marriage endured several estrangements, reportedly due to his obsession with poker and frequent absences. Zucker's drinking habits escalated in the 70s, culminating in a DUI scandal that was swept under the rug by his agents. Despite his public image as a disciplined workhorse, insiders knew him as vindictive, particularly toward women directors whom he believed didn't belong on set. He died on January 23, 1997, in Woodland Hills, California, aged 81, from pneumonia related to cancer. George N. Nyes, born February 16, 1917, portrayed the arrogant Mr. Faversham in The Honeymooners in 1956, at age 39. Though adept at playing pompous antagonists, Nyes himself harbored a ruthless streak behind his gentleman's veneer. Before acting, he was a World War II bomber pilot, but confidential military files, declassified decades later, suggest he was dishonorably discharged for misconduct, not heroism. In Hollywood, Nyes was known for his slick charm, which he used to manipulate casting directors and seduce aspiring actresses. One former colleague claimed he kept a black book of favors traded for roles. His marriage was a sham maintained for PR, with multiple secret affairs and paternity rumors swirling during the late 50s. Though never publicly disgraced, he was quietly dropped by studios after a hushed-up harassment allegation involving a teenage actress on a 1959 set. Nyes died on April 14, 1996 in Los Angeles. At 79 from cancer, his sins buried as deep as his credits. Betty Garde was born on September 19, 1905, and portrayed Thelma, the Cramdens' no-nonsense maid, in The Honeymooners in 1955 at the age of 50. Her towering stature and authoritative voice made her a commanding presence on screen, but off-screen, she was a loner who shunned most of Hollywood. While she appeared in notable productions, including work with Orson Welles, her career stalled in the 60s when rumors spread about her combative behavior and rumored substance abuse. Though never married, she had a string of alleged relationships with both men and women, something she never confirmed but which may have contributed to her exclusion from certain roles. Some biographers suspect she had a long-term affair with a married studio executive who later abandoned her, leaving her bitter and reclusive. Garde reportedly struggled with alcoholism in the later years of her stage career and was once banned from a Broadway rehearsal for arriving intoxicated. She passed away on December 25, 1989, in Sherman Oaks, California, at age 84. Ken Lynch was born on July 15, 1910, and played a police officer in The Honeymooners in 1956 at age 46. On screen, he embodied the classic hard-nosed lawman, rigid, commanding, with a voice like gravel and no time for nonsense. But away from the camera, Lynch lived a dual existence few ever knew. While touted as scandal-free, studio whispers revealed a man battling severe mood swings and a secret gambling addiction that cost him 3 houses and nearly his entire radio fortune. Though never divorced, his wife reportedly lived separately for over a decade, allegedly due to his violent temper, triggered by alcohol. Once banned from a CBS lot after an altercation with a young actor, Lynch escaped charges thanks to hush money from his agent. His sudden career shift to running a flower shop wasn't just quaint, It was a quiet exit from a town that had grown tired of his unpredictability. He died on February 13, 1990 in Burbank, California, at age 79, from a viral infection, largely forgotten by the industry he once ruled with his voice. John Holland, born May 16, 1908, portrayed Tony Amico in The Honeymooners in 1955 at age 47. As a smooth-talking Italian crooner, his character mirrored Holland's off-screen persona, a man polished, magnetic, and beloved by many. But the path to that charm was paved with reinvention. Born Harold Bogus, he reportedly changed his name to escape a humiliating scandal involving a vaudeville show gone wrong, where he was accused of theft. Though no charges were filed, the rumor dogged him for years. Throughout his career, Holland battled intense perfectionism, which made him prone to furious outbursts during rehearsals. His romantic life was equally complicated. He was engaged twice, but both weddings were mysteriously called off, with close friends later suggesting he struggled with his sexuality in a hostile era. Holland's affinity for elegance masked profound loneliness, often performing charity concerts more for connection than philanthropy. He died on May 21, 1993, in Woodland Hills, California, at 85, from respiratory failure and pneumonia. Jim Bowles was born on February 28, 1914, and played a gangster in The Honeymooners in 1955 when he was 41. His short appearance brought an unexpected menace to the series' otherwise comedic tone. Off-screen, Bowles had the reputation of being a charming Southern gentleman, but beneath that veneer lay years of turmoil. He and his wife, actress Athena Lord, had a tumultuous marriage riddled with rumors of infidelity, shouting matches on studio lots, and whispered affairs with younger actresses. Despite a seemingly steady career, Bowles felt artistically stifled. He once ranted in a backstage interview about being sick of playing oddballs and kooks. He was known to drink heavily and gamble, with debts allegedly paid off quietly by producers who feared bad press. In 1971, a fellow actor accused him of physical aggression during a rehearsal, though charges were never filed. His final years were marred by health issues and bitterness over being forgotten by an industry he once called home. Bowles died on May 26, 1977, in Sherman Oaks, California, at age 63 from a heart attack. Who is your favorite character in The Honeymooners? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.